Dovetail Games kindly provided me with an early access review code for this game, but no money switched hands and they have no say on what goes up on this channel. This review is entirely impartial. So with that said, let's get into it. Train Sim World 2 was announced earlier this year and released on the 20th of August. For the benefit of those watching in the future, the year is currently 2020. None of the AI are socially distancing. I'm going to have to give it a 0 out of 10 for being inaccurate. Why aren't any of you bastards wearing masks? Alright, so Train Sim World 2 is $24.99, and to see if that's actually worthwhile for London Underground fans, I want to jump over to its sister game, Train Simulator 2020, and look at the price of getting a full-on London Underground experience there. And in the words of the one and only Dr. Emmett Brown, you're going to see some serious shit. This is the 2019 Just Trains Metropolitan Line release for Train Simulator 2020. Now let's say, like me, you're a London Underground fan whose only experience with train simulators is free community projects like OpenBVE, and maybe World of Subways Volume 3. How much is this premium train simulator experience for the London Underground going to cost you? Well, first, you've got to buy Train Simulator 2020, just the base game, for $24.99. Alright, now you've got to jump over to the Just Train store and get the actual route for $29.99. Yep, that's right, the route costs more than the base game. Now, if you actually want an S-Stock to drive on the route, you're going to have to give Just Trains an extra $21.99 for that. And finally, if you actually want to play the route and have it work, you've got to buy the Train Simulator European Loco and Asset Pack DLC for another $11.99. £96. How am I meant to pay for that? Have you seen the amount of subscribers this YouTube channel has? Making that much ad revenue takes ages. Out of time, the only thing I'm out of is pocket. So, yeah, $24.99 is pretty good. Especially when you take into consideration that the game is absolutely stunningly beautiful. I'm going to let it speak for itself, so if you hate great visuals, skip to the timestamp on screen. This game looks absolutely fantastic. I demand VR support. It is easily, hands down, the best looking simulation of the tube that you can get right now. The weather effects like rain on the windows, the lighting engine which just looks absolutely great, especially at sunrise, the gorgeous textures, it all just adds up to make it look brilliant. And the actual train cab itself is super detailed and an absolute perfect recreation of 1972 stock. Really glad this has happened, since they are the oldest trains on the network and probably not too long for the world. Okay, easy does it, and stop! Okay, great. Man, this cab is really good looking. I'm glad they decided to put so much effort into modelling it. Every button switch, man. Alright, let's change ends. Ah! Dovetail, please can you make it so that the passengers get off before the train goes into the siding? Changing ends like this is a little bit disturbing. Thank you very much. Actually, do you know what? Here are the 4 biggest problems I have with this game that I want fixed ASAP. While I really like this game, these 4 things just keep getting in the way of it, and it's really annoying. Number 1, written at the top of the list in gold dust, is please let me move my camera left in the cab view. This huge pillar on the right hand side of the 72 stock with the radio on it gets completely in the way of any speed limits and signals when you're going around a corner. I actually had a SPAD on my very first time playing the game live the other day on launch day. I retraced my steps a lot slower and you can see the problem. Right, look, here we go, cautionary tale. Here is your amber signal. Okay, so we know that there's a red signal coming up. I'm going to slow right back down for this. Because it's around this corner somewhere and I still don't actually have the actually, we're paid to turn on the signal HUD. So yeah, it's 20 yards away. And notice that if you're pointing this way, 10, 9, 8, it's here. Now how were you meant to sight that? We need a way to shift, because this is in the way. Hang on, if I stand up, sort of walk and then crouch. Yeah, we need more of a, obviously not this close to the desk, but more of a view like this, but zoomed out from closer to this window. Because how are you going to sight the signals? You just can't. That needs to be addressed ASAP. Functionally, I shouldn't need to have to rely on the HUD to be able to play the game. Removing it should challenge skill, but it shouldn't make the game impossible. Right, number 2 should be an easy one, but it's really annoying that it's not there. I should be able to open my doors with the keyboard. Simple as. Right now, the only way to open your doors is to use the mouse, whether it be via the tab menu or by opening the UI and actually clicking on the door open button. The solution for how do I open my doors without having to touch my mouse while using keyboard controls needs to be something better than have a spare controller plugged in on the side that you just use for doors. Why you have a button on a controller, something that has a limited amount of buttons, that you don't also bind somewhere on a keyboard, something with loads of buttons, doesn't really make much sense to me. This is just an unnecessary immersion breaker that I really want to see fixed. Number 3. Okay, the signalling in general is just a bit janky, and I could forgive things like this. You know, I think London Underground signalling has a bit more separation distance than that. And the fact that these signals seem to change before I fully passed them. But the number 1 problem I have with them, and this completely drags me out of the immersion, is that the game needs you to shut your doors at some stations first before it will give you a green signal. That is completely inaccurate. One of the main core principles of departing a train on the London Underground is checking your signal is clear before you close the doors. It's a train driver's equivalent of mirror signal maneuver. And to make matters even worse, before the signal will change, you need to have loaded and unloaded all of your passengers, which is indicated as an objective on the HUD that takes a few seconds. and if you close your doors before that's complete, the signal won't clear. Now, I had one really unfun example while I was playing the game with the HUD disabled, because I like to play with the HUD disabled for immersion. You see, what happened was, I pulled up to a station, opened the doors, kept them open for a few seconds, closed the doors, and pulled away. I had a green signal. What I didn't know was that the actual next signal ahead was the one that depended on the doors being shut after a certain amount of time objective being met. So I pulled up to it, and it was red, and it stayed red. And the only way that I could get it to go green was to reopen my doors just in the middle of nowhere and close them again, and then it went green. Please fix this. This is so irritating. I just really want an immersive experience, and this throws that right out of the window. Okay, last one, and it's one of those really small but irritating ones. The speed limit for the train applies when the rear of the train goes past the sign, not when the front of the train goes past the sign, as how it should be on London Underground. This is absolutely brutal at Queen's Park, because the sheds have like a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit, and you come out of there and it's just slow as hell. This could be fixed by placing the digital speed limit and the actual sign asset apart from each other. Please do this. Okay, so those are the biggies, and what I mean by that is every single time I encounter them, they are painfully annoying and detract from what is a brilliant game. There's a couple more small things, but these are small things that, while it would be nice to change, don't really impact my core experience of the game. So let's blast through those really quickly. The announcements. This game has none of the Bakerloo line announcements, and a lot of people are up in arms about that. What I'd suggest people bear in mind about that is that TFL don't license out the copyright for those announcements. You can't even get them on Freedom of Information request. What I think would have been a good idea for the developers is to get a voice actor who sounds like the Bakerloo line announcer in to record authentic announcements for it. This is actually what World of Subways Volume 3 did for the Circle line, so maybe it would pay off here on the Bakerloo line as well. The train sounds. People are a bit annoyed about the train sounds because some aspects of them have been reused from other trains. I personally can't hear it that much. I don't ride the Bakerloo line every day, and you have to remember that the majority of people who are going to play this route have probably never even been on a Bakerloo line train. And also the developers have just straight up said that they couldn't get the recordings they wanted, and it's probably down to the pandemic that's been going on for the last few months, so I can't really blame them for that. The AI. Okay, so I am actually really impressed by the amount of AI in the game, but sometimes it can be a little bit more artificial than intelligent. Trust me, love, it's not that good. Strike! Please stop limiting the free cam. I don't understand why I can't use it in tunnels, and I don't understand why trains keep knocking it out of the way. It was really annoying when I was trying to film the montage earlier. Just give me a no clipping free cam that can go anywhere. You've made a beautiful game, let me show it off. And lastly, if I go into the menu and change a load of settings, and then try and go out of the menu without pressing E to confirm the changes, please warn me with an "Are you sure?" prompt. Don't just forget them all. Please. Thank you. And genuinely, that's it. We're at the point of moaning about menu design. I love this game. It's absolutely brilliant. I strongly recommend it, as long as you have a computer capable of running it. And even if you don't, it's on Xbox and PlayStation as well. Hell, I might even check out the other two routes. And lastly, before I go, I want to acknowledge something that I think a lot of people don't realise the significance of. And that is, from the very get-go since this game was announced, senior producer Matt and community manager Sam have done several streams, especially in the run-up to the release, showing off the game, showing off development builds, answering questions, and actually properly answering questions as well. They're not afraid to say no, sometimes to a comical effect, where one will ask someone a long, sprawling, detailed question about a very specific feature, and the other will just say, nope, not in the game. And while on the surface that might seem like a really bad way to do advertising for your game, and probably sets alarm bells ringing in some PR department somewhere, it actually just is a really genuine and nice way that they've been engaging with the community, and I think that needs to go appreciated. There's a good reason why a lot of games that come out, all you get to see pre-release is very carefully scripted trailers, maybe some gameplay footage, but as long as it's been checked and double checked that nothing goes wrong during it. What we've seen is literal development builds where things have gone wrong to comedic effect, and that level of openness is just really, really refreshing, and it deserves praise. So keep it up. Thanks very much for that, and to be honest, it's the main thing that got me so hyped up for this game and eager to cover it. So keep engaging with the community, keep talking to people, because that is really cool to see. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please do leave a like, it really helps me out. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game down below, and maybe consider subscribing. I've been Tekken Trains 101, and I'll catch you soon.